Hey guys, Gingi here, back at it again with another video. Do that, I'm making an intro. Like and subscribe. Good old Underrot. Okay, so you have the ticks. These ticks reminds me of the mobs from Shah, a Temple of the Jade Serpent. The Shahs, when they die, they explode and do damage to the whole group. You have the maggot, which does a spray. Very fast cast, if I remember correctly. You just see it here. That you want to stop. The rotten bile. So you can see a ring of peace there. Then you have the blood priests. You have the headhunters. The headhunters will cast random spears on people. So wait, I guess it's actually maybe it's easier if we, when we look at the polls, go into MDT at the same time, and then I will take them one by one. So first poll, it looked like this. The maggot, frontal cone, stop it or dodge it, but I recommend stopping it so you don't have to worry about it. Cast it quite frequently. I think it's like every 15 seconds. You have the matron. This mob is very dangerous, by the way. It casts Warcry, which makes all of its allies to increases the haste of all allies by 25%. And it does Blood Harvest, which charges a random enemy. I don't remember if it was always furthest target. If this is the wrong toolbit tip, I don't remember exactly. But it did a fuck ton of damage. And then it also has a cleave, which does a lot of damage too. So this mob was very dangerous. This is your high HP target that you want to focus down. Then you have the headhunters. They will immobilize someone. They will root them in place. And yeah, unless you have a freedom effect, you will be stuck in the net. And then they will randomly just keep throwing these barb spears at people all the time, and just deal random damage. And here you have the Blood Priest. Okay, the Blood Priest has a couple things which increases someone's, like, pretty much you need to spell steal this. It prevents any target that has this buff on them from dying, and for 25 seconds, and their damage is increased by 100%. But their movement speed is reduced. This is a very important to kick. It you could also spell steal it though. You could remove it with a purge. Then you have the Blood Bolt, random bolt on an enemy, and then you have a Dark Reconstitution. This one is very important because they will heal a friendly target for 35% of their health, and it will, I believe, it always targets the lowest HP mob percentage-wise. So that's kind of the first pull. You will see a lot of the mechanics unfold. See the blood bolts going out. See, I have the blood priest on focus. See the enrage effect going out. You can see they have haste now, so the cast is very fast. Did we see any of the important casts from the blood priest? I don't know if we did. The Gift of Gahun, you can see. Wait, it actually got the cast off. Yep. And I can just purge it. You can see. Purging it now. I'm waiting with purging because of bursting. There we go. That was a little bit spicy, but we made it. So this is a smart trick, by the way. Robin, he was playing Dwarf because of bursting Necrotic. Stoneform would remove Necrotic, right? So that's why. And everyone else is... Well, we're also Dwarves, but we have... you can see Mercy said Feign Death. That's why he called the wait, because he doesn't have Feign Death ready. And Shadow Meld on the Monk. So... These mobs here, okay, so before we move on, but yeah, this is something you could do. Robin cannot get past this because he's not a Night Elf. So he goes into the Awakened Entomb, goes over on the other side, and then when we pull the boss, you get pulled out of that phase. So that's how he got passed without being a Night Elf. But yeah, this mask right here, most people skipped this mob for, I mean, very oh my god, like this was just crazy, bro. Like also one of the sides here has a matron. Like this pool here was death. This was just death. It has a blood priest, 2 headhunters, 2 matrons, and a befouled spirit. Crazy. So definitely don't wanna do those mobs. And you can also see a matron 4 and 5 can spawn on either left or right platform. So where the 2 matrons are will be different depending on random dungeon. One dungeon can be on the left, one dungeon can be on the right. So prepare for that. So this befouled spirit here, he has a huge AoE damage effect. This killed you if that went off. And then he had a dark omen where he would be channeling for 6 seconds, and it would deal damage to someone and people around it. It reminds one mob that's very similar, or ability, is the flame channeler at the end of Ruby life pools. The dark omen is very similar to that. But this guy perma-casted it, by the way. Like, almost all the time. But you can feign death it, melt it, things like that. And then it also has the harrowing despair. So, like, a lot of interrupts was, like, necessary for this guy. And then it was a little bit annoying because the Blood Priest also requires a lot of kicks. So, these 2 mobs in combination with each other are a little bit dangerous. And also look at it, it's 100 yards, by the way. It's very hard to outrange. Okay, Elder Alexa. This boss, he will do a frontal rot. You dodge that, and he will cast random bolts at people. Wait, is it only on tank? Let me see if I remember correctly. I think this is only tank damage. Just double checking. Yeah, okay. This is only damage to the tank, all of these bolts, but they do a lot of damage. So they're just perma-casting blood bolts all the time. And she will also spawn a copy of herself, which will also spam cast bolts. So having good interpretation and using reflect well was crucial here. So you can see the copy is also doing the creeping rot. So like having a good like kick rotation here. This boss reminds me a little bit of Mythic, except for the fact that this is just tank damage over and over again. But in a high key, this actually hurts quite a lot. So having good kicks on the ad and the boss gonna mitigate a lot of tank damage. It's a very simple boss, but a lot of interrupts are required. Yeah, Warriors got absolutely pumped by this. Go. All right. Here you have the Lashers. These bad boys, you might know them from Academy. These are a little bit different. This Wave of Decay is, honestly, I don't know if they're going to change these mobs, but like, look at this mechanic. Wave of Decay. Also creates a pool that decays and inflicts nature damage every second to all enemies within the area, right? So it just casts a Wave of Decay, and then like I think it just poops some poop on the ground. So that's all it does. So you just dodge the poo-poo. Then you have the Then you have what's it called? Dashers. What these do is that they will infect an enemy's mind, similar to the series Last of Us, stunning them for 5 seconds, and then you also get a massive healing absorb. So these are pretty important to interrupt. It's very important to kick these. And then you also in this poll you have the like in the first poll, the frontal from the maggot, and the new mob to add into the addition that we haven't seen so far in the dungeon is the blood swarmers. The blood swarmer is an AoE screech in 30 yards that will interrupt all spell casting. So if you're a caster, you need to stop casting when this goes off. And otherwise you can kick it. And it also does first for blood, which is a fixate on someone. These mobs, they were very dangerous, by the way. Very, very dangerous. You need to be very careful with these mobs. Because they really hurt. You can see double fixate on fragments. Back then, binding shot was really broken. And the thing is that if you run too far away from these blood swarmers, they do a charge, by the way. I'm not sure exactly the range of the charge, but if you are, I think it's like warrior charge range. So you want to play them like you would play a PvP warrior. You don't want to run too far away so you can charge you, but you don't want to be too close so that it melees you. So like that's how you can kite the blood swarmers. Yeah, there was like a druid spam hibernating back then. We pre-turtle the bursting. I was on mirrors, but he had turtle up. So it was a good call. He said to just let it go. Sorry. Twilight Devastation. Alright, then you have the... Ooh, okay, I mean, these are the same mobs we talked about before. Blood Swarmer is the fixate boy. The blobs are kind of... They don't do much, man. It's just touch the poo-poo. Then the Blood Swarmer is the dangerous one. You can see how they fixate on me. So you have this guy called Fallen Death Speaker. What he will do is that he will give an enrage effect to a... you can see the Wicked Frenzy here. You can see there on the nameplate. Boom. This one increases the damage done. Let's just double check in MDT. How much is it? Yeah, haste increased by 100%, and melee attacks inflict shadow damage every second for 10 seconds. So this is very dangerous for the tank. Whatever mob gets affected by this, but it's an enrage effect, so you can soothe it. Then you have the Raised Dead, which pretty much spawns another one of these, but it gives no count. So you, of course, want to stop that. The reanimated guardians, they give themselves a shield. You can also purge that shield. See the bone shield here, but it's also purgeable. So that's those mobs. The Wicked Frenzy going out. Then we soothe the guy. No tank damage. So that's that. Then we have Cragmore. Cragmore. Cragmore is quite interesting here. So he does something called indigestion, and he did have a variable in terms of sometimes he would push back his tantrum ability and do another ability in between. I don't remember. Maybe someone in chat. Was it good if he did charge first, or was it good if he did indigestion first? What gave you most time? I don't remember. It was one of those. I need to look at that. I think it was charge first. So yeah, he does charge. Don't be in the way of it. When he does charge and indigestion, he will spawn these mobs. And if if you don't soak them, the maggots will spawn. Let me just double check exactly the maggots. Maybe what they did exactly. If a Underrot them. Yeah, here they are, blood ticks. Oh yeah. So it was just like a stacking debuff. It's kind of similar to how the mobs in First Boss Academy works. And it's after 12 seconds. You have 12 seconds to. Yeah, they did a ton of damage, exactly. You have 12 seconds to soak it. So when you see his tantrum ability, this is very interesting. The tantrum was the hard part of the fight. So during tantrum, he will do AoE ticking damage to the whole group. Very hard to heal. And while he was doing that, he was spawning these maggots all across the room in different parts. So what you did is that you assigned your team to be in different quadrants of the boss room in order to soak these. I'm just saying, good luck, evokers, because you're not going to be able to heal everyone in your team, because everyone's going to be spread out across different parts. And soaking these maggots. So you can see here, like, there's a lot of damage going on every tick of the tantrum. Let's see, how many ticks was it? You can maybe get a weaker that shows the ticks. So on cast start, I think it did damage. Yeah, cast start, 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks. Yeah? One sec, my girlfriend is calling. I think it's something important. Alright, there we go. Just had to show me something. She's been working on like, there was my dog training, but there was something that was really hard for her to learn. Finally got it now. Alright, so it's 4 ticks. And just gotta soak all of these maggots before 12 seconds after they spawn. Before they turn into, before they add spawn. And same thing, like whenever they do the charge and the indigestion, there will also be like some maggot spawns, but they're very easy to soak, right? Mobile classes that don't lose too much damage by running around, they should definitely do this. You can also see here, one thing you can do is that you can bait the charge into the skeleton here, and it won't charge that far. You can see the blood ticks here. They're actually just clapping the tank. And oh yeah, one more thing as well. When the ticks die, it's the same ticks as in the beginning of the dungeon. They explode when they die. This is, of course, not part of the dungeon. This is one of the awakened mobs. Here. So, have the Spore Caller, the Defilers, Guardians, Base Dead. Okay, so we have only mobs we haven't seen yet that is on the way that we're not doing. We have the Worm here. They just spam Death Bolt. You just need to kick it. They're also stunnable and whatnot, but they're also CCable, but just it does damage to everyone in the team whenever Death Bolt goes off. And yeah, you just kick that. Very easy, very simple mob. The Defilers are a little bit scarier. They summon a totem, which stuns all enemies for 4 seconds and does AoE damage around them. I remember pets were affected by this. So BM Hunter pets did get stunned by this totem. It was super annoying. It has a drain. I believe it's a drain curse. And the longer it drains, the more stacks you get. Here, and it's you take 10% increased damage and you do 10% less damage per stack. So don't let this guy drain you. Instantly kick it. Very important. And then it also has a Shadow Bolt volley. So these mobs were quite dangerous. It required you to have 2 kicks, 1 person doing volley and 1 person doing curse. If I'm not mistaken. I think we'll see it here in a second. That the file is on focus. Curse is going out there. Boom. Interrupt it before the channel starts. Otherwise, you'll get 1 tick. And that you can also kick the totem. I also said I accidentally kicked totem. That was not intentional. The volley will go off. So I'm calling... Oh, okay, Robin backed up. I called personals, but me and Maris, we pressed wall here because of the call. So we can discuss a spore caller here because right now we are not playing it the way it's intended to be played. Because we have a Mistweaver monk with revival. So that's why. This boss has a couple mechanics you can use to get rid of these. You see these spores around the room. You can use the upheaval, which is this. You can see me and Maris. You will place this around the spores, and that will remove them. He has some mushrooms that spawn. Dodge these orbs, or you take a debuff. The same debuff you'll get when he does Festering Harvest. The Festering Harvest will remove all of these spores and give you a stacking debuff based on how many spores are up. You can see we have 35 stacks. But you see the revival coming. Boom. And our stacks goes away. All right? So that's how we played it. But now you'll see us play the fight normally. You see, here we go. Place the upheaval, the right places. Then the spores will go away. You can see Robin getting this, like taking the shockwave. This is a frontal. That shockwave will also clean the spores. And you just gotta make sure you clean all the spores until he does the Festering Harvest. You can also press an immunity like Cloak or Turtle and run over them as well. If you do run over a spore without anything, you will just take a debuff and take some damage. In a low key, you can probably run over one. You saw Robin ran over it. Didn't he? I mean, it's also a tank, so he didn't really take any damage. But a DPS player with a personal can also walk over them. And yeah, the Festering Harvest also, even though there's no spores up, it also does AoE damage. Does not do increased AoE damage. Because spores are up, it will only give you the debuff. Yeah, exactly. You can also just run over the spore and have your healer dispel you as well. That's also one thing. Heartsteed was so good. Back then, you could actually use... You know how mounts get... like, they get interrupted whenever you get take damage, right? Or you cannot mount up doing bursting. Heartsteed ignored that completely. It was so good. Alright, here we get to see a mob we haven't seen yet. This is the Faceless Corruptors and the Horrors, right? We talked about the Horrors before. They just do a bolt that does AoE damage to everyone. But we see these Corruptors here. This reminds me a little bit of Shellmoon Burial Grounds. You need to kill these 2 mobs before you can go down to the last part. If I don't remember, if I remember correctly, you need 100% count to go down as well, right? I don't think you can go down before you reach 100% count, if I'm not mistaken. think that's also a thing. Yeah, yeah. So these are also knockable, by the way, these corruptors with ring, as you can see. They have two mechanics. They have the Abyssal Reach, which will spawn tentacles around your location, and then those tentacles will slap around them after a couple seconds. So see here, you just move away from the spawn point. Then they also have a frontal. I believe they're always on. No, okay. They're targeted on a random player, I think. So they can either go. Yeah, there we go. Towards us. Yeah, they will just target a random player, so just watch out for those frontals. Those are kind of scary. Just make sure that you watch out for the frontal. Normally, you wouldn't play this many mobs on top of the double corruptors, right? This is like MDI pulse. There's a lot going on. It might look a little bit more scary than it actually is, but if you're just playing those two by themselves, then not too bad. But you can see there's still the web. Then 100% count, and we fly down. Now it's time for the last boss. Okay. So of course with awakened mobs, which is not normally. He does a vile explosion, which is a frontal, and it also spawns poo poo on the ground. Don't want to touch that. You get a stacking debuff here that does damage, and you cleanse that by going into the cleansing light. Remove the stacks. If you touch the poo poo here with the cleansing light, this will also go away. This is good to like make space in the room, right? Because eventually you will go a big circle and you run out of space. These small poo-poos, they will spawn some spores, which will run towards you, but they have no HP. You can see 31 HP. If you hit them, they will just die and spawn poo-poo where they die. So those are very simple. You can see here, this is like the dangerous part. You'll see you get this stack in debuff, and the more stacks you have, the more damage you take. But just make sure you get into the cleansing light. That's important. You might see that the boss isn't 100% all the time. Yes, it is, because this boss doesn't die based on, well, he dies when he reaches 0, but you need to get him to 100 energy 3 times. This is based on the damage you do. You see here now, what he will do here is that there will be 2 blood visages spawning, and he will, this guy right here, our friend, which is helping us in this dungeon, he will kill them. Don't need to worry about them. This vile explosion will go on a random player as well. So that's why we're on the outer side of the room. So it always just keeps spawning. And make sure that you're not in front of a group, right? Like, so if you're standing here, there's a chance that you'll be spawning the breath and the poo-poo in the pathway that you're walking. So make sure you like stand, behind here. This is where you want to bait the breaths. And then you want to keep walking in, we walked in a clockwise movement. So you just keep doing a circular motion. Yeah. Get rid of your debuff here. Yeah, one thing you could actually do, these rotting spores, you could mass grip these onto one of your party members, and he would die immediately. That was a funny DK trick you could do. So yeah, that's kind of the fight. It's just you just rot a little bit here. The rotting spores that come in, they kind of die passively whenever they get close to like random AoE damage that your group has. One small min-max here. Now the boss is dead. Don't need to hit the boss anymore. So what you can do here, there's 2 blood visages that dies. This guy will suck one of them first and then the other one. So you want to just try and hit the one that he doesn't suck. So we just hit the close one. Because he's so fucking slow, bro. Wait, was it 2 blood visage or was it only 1? Maybe it was only 1, or? I don't remember. Oh yeah, it is only 1, actually. You can help him, though. I thought I remember 2 spawning, but I guess it's just 1. It's 2. Am I... See the other one? Oh, it's running top left. Ah, I see, I see. Okay. No, it was perfect, actually, I think. Yeah, you're right. It came here. I see it. Okay, it was perfect. We killed the close one, and he sucked the far one. Okay, it was perfect. This was ideal. Oh my god. Does Robin waste? He made our sub 14 ruined it.